The defendant is charged with interrupting or disrupting a lawful assembly. He wasn't even the one who initially started it. During the city council meeting, he said, "Fuck the police, fuck the city council, suck my dick." He said it purposefully. He directed it to them. He named them. He literally said, "Fuck the police, fuck the city council," maliciously, with ill will, hatred, spite, or an evil intent. And I encourage you to use your common sense when you think about why he said the things that he did, in the context that he did towards the positions of authority that were present. Not to mention, the whole entire time that he was stating those things, he was holding the camera in their face. Then, thereafter, went and posted it on YouTube. The defendant's words and his actions that day were not only offensive, but unlawful. The profanities that he yelled at city council, the profanities that he yelled at law enforcement, the profanities he yelled at the mayor, and how it escalated so much that the mayor himself had to ask for the defendant to be escorted out of that meeting.
In Florida, the state's constitution and laws prohibit claiming copyright on public records created by public entities, public records, including meeting videos. Clearwater's council doesn't like me recording their meetings and sharing them online because they think it's for clicks and views. They prosecuted me after I spoke out when they kicked out a man for a shirt that said fuck, and they cut their live streams to hide their misconduct. Now that I'm banned from attending the meetings for 6 months, I'll be uploading all of their meeting videos to my channel, not for clicks and views, but because the public has a right to. And I know it will aggravate them, especially if they think I might make ad revenue doing it.
Because it was like, don't buy
Do I
anything.
have to-
I said, yeah, I got this for you for 2 or 3 weeks.
This meeting of the Community Development Board is called to order on August 19th, 2025. Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This board consists of 7 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the City Council and serve voluntarily. I am Andrew Hupp, and I will ask the other members and staff to introduce themselves to my left.
O'Bray, Hood Court.
Mike Mastrisario.
Jay Daniel, attorney for the board.
Matt Middage, Assistant City Attorney.
Ted Kozak, Planning and Development.
Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development.
Diane Etchinelli.
Michelle Chenault.
Andy Park.
Please remember to turn off your cell phones so that they do not become a distraction during the meeting. Please also refrain from having any conversations in this room so that we might hear all of the testimony given today. To ensure a complete record of this board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone at the podium in front of us. Clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk. Now, I will ask all those in attendance today who plan to speak to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
Yes.
Thank you.
Agendas of today's meeting are on the podium to your left near the entry door. Also on the podium are a roster of the Community Development Board, the list of city staff experts and their resumes, the board's rules of procedure, and the annual schedule of this board. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the last month's meeting. May I have a motion for approval of these minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion approved.
You have a motion and a second, so now you're looking for all those in favor to indicate aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed?
Anyone opposed?
Okay, you're good.
If there is any person wishing to address the board concerning any matter that does not appear on today's agenda. I see none. This board has adopted a consent agenda format, and the consent items are identified as such on the agenda. Consent agenda items are those items for which the Planning and Development Department recommends approval and the applicant is in agreement with any proposed conditions. Please note that written comments to the case that have been received to date do not result in any item being removed from the consent agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda today by a member of the board, a member of the staff, or any person in the audience for questions or objections. I will read each item on the consent agenda item, and if any person wishes to remove this item from the consent agenda, please so state or raise your hand, and we will remove it from the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda will be heard in the regular order of the meeting. Items that remain on the consent agenda will be approved with a single vote as to each type of hearing. So items remaining on the consent agenda are,
You need to go through them at this time, Mr. Chair. Let's read them each, starting with 4.1.
FLD 2025-05012, flexible development approval for a school, retail sales and services, daycare, and offices in the office district as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project for the property at 861 North Hercules Avenue. The building does not exceed 30 feet in height and includes 69 off-street parking spaces. Requested is flexibility for the uses and reduced interior landscaping and landscape buffers along the property lines throughout a comprehensive landscape program. FLD.
Mr. Chair, now, at this time, you should inquire as to whether anyone wishes to remove that item from the consent agenda.
Does anybody in the audience wish to remove this from the consent agenda?
Okay.
Yes,
And now you
no.
move on to the next.
FLD 2025-06013, flexible development approval for a detached dwelling in the low-medium density residential district as a residential infill project for the property at 730 El Dorado Avenue. This building will not exceed 30 feet in height and includes 2 off-street parking spaces. Requested is a flexibility from front setback requirements. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to remove this from the consent agenda?
All right.
I see none. FLD 2025-05011, flexible development approval for a 10-unit attached dwelling development in the low-density residential district for the property located at 2236 Atme Junior Green Drive. The buildings do not exceed 30 feet in height and include 22 off-street parking spaces. Requested is flexibility for the use. Anybody in the audience wish to pull this from the consent agenda today? I see none. FLD 2024-08018A, TDR 2025-03001, flexible development approval to add 5 overnight accommodation units as part of the proposed 394 overnight accommodation units in the tourist zoning district in the South Beach Clearwater Pass Character District of Beach by Design located at 521 South Gulfview Boulevard. The additional units will be accommodated through interior renovations and no exterior work is proposed. The building does not exceed 100 feet in height and includes 585 off-street parking spaces. Does anybody wish to remove this from the consent agenda? We have-
Neighbor to the extended site.
You can go on to your next one at this point.
FLD 2025-05009, flexible development approval for a 1,745 square foot commercial dock accessory to a 9-unit resort attached dwelling within the tourist district and the Old Florida Character District of Beach by Design for the properties located at 685 and 689 Bay Esplanade. Requested is flexibility for a commercial dock. Anybody in the audience wish to remove this from the consent agenda? I see none. FLD 2025-05010, flexible development approval for a 1,194 square foot commercial dock accessory to a 6-unit resort attached dwelling within the tourist district and the Old Florida Character District of Beach by Design for the properties located at 693 and 699 Bay Esplanade. Requested is flexibility for a commercial dock. Anybody in the audience wish to remove this from the consent agenda? I see none. Does any board member wish to disclose any ex parte communication on any level 2 application remaining on the consent agenda? May I have a motion for approval of the level 2 applications remaining on the consent agenda?
I move to approve. Do I have to list all 5 cases?
I would suggest using, if you have the 4 motions in front of you for the consent agenda level 2 case,
Okay.
you could reference them briefly by agenda item number, for example, 4.1, 4.2, et cetera, or
Okay.
by the FLD number at your option.
Okay. I move to approve case number 4.1, FLD 2025-05012. Item number 4.2, FLD 2025-06013. Item number 4.3, FLD 2025-05011. Item number, actually, excuse me. I apologize. I included the one that has been removed, so kindly let me start over with my...
No, you didn't.
No, you're okay, you're fine.
You're good.
Of 7:30?
Yeah, you're going to go from there now down to 4.5 now.
Got
Skip
it,
4.4.
thank you. Okay, you're right. Item number 4.5, FLD 2025-05009. On today's consent agenda,
Madam, oh, I'm sorry, you forgot one. There's one in the back.
I'm gonna get
That last one,
this right,
4.6. Yep.
and item number 4.6, FLD 2025-05010. Thank you.
And go on. There you go.
So those 5 items, I move to approve those on today's consent agenda based on evidence in the record, including the application and the staff report, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law stated in the staff reports with conditions of approval as listed.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Chair, we can go on to the regular agenda.
We'll now move on to the regular agenda. There are 2 types of cases that will be heard today, quasi-judicial and legislative. I will outline the procedures for each hearing at the beginning of the respective hearings.
And you'll read your level 2 quasi-judicial procedures, since that's all we have left on the agenda today.
Quasi-judicial.
Yeah, where it says procedures for quasi-judicial hearings, level 2 cases, there at the
Thank you.
bottom.
All level 2 cases such as flexible development are considered quasi-judicial hearings. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the Community Development Board reviews the application, the staff report, correspondence, and all evidence presented today and makes a final decision subject to appeal. This board has previously qualified all the city staff who will testify as experts in their area of professional training, education, and experience. The list of city staff experts and their resumes are in the handbook on the podium near the entry door. Any other professionals who desire to be qualified as an expert witness shall so request at the beginning of the case and present a resume to each board member. The board shall determine whether or not to qualify the person as an expert and in what field of study. At the beginning of each Level 2 case, I will ask for anyone who wishes to request party status to come forward and state your reasons. Party status may be granted if the person requesting such status demonstrates that he is substantially affected person. The board will then determine whether or not to grant party status, and the case will proceed as follows. Request for party status. Presentation by planning and development staff, 10 minutes maximum. Presentation by the applicant, 10 minutes maximum. Presentation by persons with party status, 5 minutes per party maximum. Cross-examination of witnesses by planning and development staff. Cross-examination of witnesses by applicant. Cross-examination of witnesses by persons with party status. Comments by the public, 3 minutes per person. Closing remarks by the planning and development staff, 3 minutes maximum. Closing remarks by the persons granted party status, 3 minutes maximum. Closing remarks by applicant, 3 minutes maximum. Closing of the public hearing, discussion, and vote by the board. So the one pulled is in level 2 now?
Yeah. So your first level 2 case today, and the only case is item 4.4 for the property at 521 South Gulfview. You've already read it, so there's no need to be doing that any longer. At this time, you'd ask for any ex parte communications by the board on this case.
Does any board member wish to close any ex parte communications on this case?
And then we'd query the audience for persons wishing to obtain party status.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to request party status on this case?
As I said earlier, Chris Mike Lick, living at Clearwater Point, 855 Bayware Boulevard. I do not know if I have to officially request party status, but I am affected by what is happening with this property because I live across the street from the sending site, which is the Mannion home. So if I'm supposed to speak as a general public, I will do that. So I'm asking.
Yeah, the board can't make that choice for you, Ms. Michaelik. You can request party status. Did you receive notice of the?
Yes, I did.
Typically, the board has adopted a policy of conveying party status to those folks who were noticed. Specifically, they'd be within the radius established by the code for a specific notification. That doesn't mean you need to hear. If you want to hear more about Ms. Michaelik's status as an aggrieved party, that's up to you. But in terms of what you're wishing to ask for, whether you want to have party status or you simply wish to speak as a member of the public, that's your determination.
I'll come on because party status involves questioning and rebuttal and everything. I just want to present my case, so I'll come in as a general public.
Okay, so you're not requesting party status then?
No,
Okay,
I just
fair
wanted
enough.
to clarify what my position is.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It's appreciated. So with that, Mr. Chair, you can move on to presentation by your planning and development staff.
Mr. Chair, at this time I'd ask the board accept Ms. Austin Dole as an expert witness in general planning, zoning, redevelopment planning, land development code and land development code amendments, special area plans and overlay districts, site plan review, landscape architecture, historic preservation, and all other matters she's about to testify here on.
Hi, how's everyone?
Good afternoon.
Do we have to approve?
I accept Ms. Dole as an expert witness in this case. FLD 2024-080-118A, NTDR 2025-03001.
Do we have a second?
Can I second? I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, Ms. Dole.
Okay, let's get started. As stated, this is FLD 2024-08018A and TDR 2025-03001. The subject properties in question are 521 and 505 South Gulfview Boulevard as the receiving site and 887 South Gulfview Boulevard as the sending site. Here is an overview of our property locations. The request is for approval to add 5 overnight accommodation units to the property located at 521 South Gulfview Boulevard. That would take their existing units from 389 up to 394. The sending site over at 887 South Gulfview is an existing detached single-family home. And the additional units would be accommodated through exclusively interior renovations. No exterior renovations would be done in order to create these 5 additional overnight accommodation units. No height would be added to the property over 521 South Gulfview. It would be purely dividing up larger suites to accommodate the 5 overnight accommodation units. The building stays at its current height, and the site provides 585 parking units, which well exceeds their requirement of 473. Again, just to go over zoning and future land use, the receiving site over 521 South Gulfview is in the Tourist Zoning District and the South Beach Clearwater Pass Character District of Beach by Design. The sending site over at 887 South Gulfview is in the High Density Residential District with a residential high future land use designation, and is also within the South Beach and Clearwater Pass District of Beach by Design. And Beach by Design does allow the transfer of development rights between various character districts. Again, this is our receiving site. It is a Holiday Inn and Edge Hotel at 521 South Gulfview. The addition of the 5 overnight accommodations would bump this from 389 to 394. This is the sending site. They would retain 1 dwelling unit to provide for their existing single-family residence, but the rest would be transferred over to 521, but they would retain 1 in order to be able to continue with their existing density of 1 dwelling unit. Again, existing development. This was not listed in staff's staff report, but we have 3 additional conditions that we are proposing being added to the staff report. First, regarding affidavit of ownership, which meets the requirements of CDC section 1403.g, discussing how the community development coordinator will have at least 30 days prior to the submission of any application for development approval that involves the use of development rights. The next is about lockout rooms, which I believe is a condition we've had in past development orders. This would allow us to make sure that we are sticking with the maximum approved 394. That way there's no possibility for the receiving site to have any potentially additional overnight accommodation units. And lastly, again, the last one that wasn't in our staff report, the transfer of development rights shall be in the form of special warranty deed meeting the requirements of CDC section 4-1402.3. Any questions?
Chair, I have a question. What does this do, what does this do to the current single-family dwelling that is on South Gulfview? They only have 1 unit left or to maintain their property there. So do the owners of that property mind relinquishing all of their density to the hotel? And then what does that leave, like if somebody, because I know that house has been on the market in my 30 years here. I've seen it over the last 5 years. And I'm just curious, if a developer came in, it is in a prime location at the end of the finger, what would that developer have to do with that site?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
So the owners of 887 South Gulfview, the Mannion brothers, are in agreement with the receiving site to send those development rights to 521 South Gulfview.
Okay.
Again, they retain their 1 so that they're completely even with their existing single-family home. So yes, they're in agreement.
And there's going to be a deed recorded with a restrictive covenant that says that those units that they're transferring can no longer be used, but they have enough density remaining on the property to keep that home there, so.
Correct. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions?
Questions here?
There's no change to the footprint of the building, it's all interior?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, board members. I'm going to try to get my PowerPoint up here. Let's see if I can figure it out. There it is, right there. Look at that. Even I could do that. Oh, wait, that's not me. That's for one that was on consent. Okay. This is mine, okay. Okay, good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, board members, Brian Unks. Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, board members, Brian Unks, 625 Court Street, McFarlane, Ferguson, and McMullen on behalf of the applicants. This is actually a dual applicant project. You have to have an affidavit from both the sending site owner and the receiving site owner. To answer your question, these are units that are being sold for fair market value. There is a purchase and sale agreement that was provided to the city. And so the density that the Mannion brothers are transferring is actually being sold for fair market value to the owner of the hotel, who will hopefully, with your approval, utilize them to expand that hotel by 5 units through interior renovations only. No exterior renovations, no increase in intensity, no increase in square footage or anything like that, just an increase in density. So this is the receiving site. It is a unified site between the Holiday Inn and the Edge. It's almost 5 acres in size. It has ample parking, which we'll get into in a minute. This is the very unique, interesting Mannion home. It is zoned for high-density residential. So on Clearwater Beach, as you probably know, you get 30 units per acre for a condo, and you get 50 units per acre for a hotel. Thus, when you have 3 dwelling units, they equal 5 hotel rooms. So that's how we get the math on that. So when they transfer their 3 dwelling units, that will equate to 5 hotel rooms under the math of the hotel versus condo density that's available as a base density. As Ms. Dole stated, this will completely extinguish any developable rights on this property other than to maintain it as a single-family home. There's no other practical use for the site after this. It will be a single-family home in perpetuity. It could not be developed into any kind of more dense use as a triplex or duplex or anything like that. So the Mannion brothers have deliberately chosen to maintain their historic home as is and sell off all the density and transfer it out of Clearwater Point. I want to make that point because obviously I know you're going to hear from Ms. Mikulik, and you've heard from Ms. Mikulik over the years about her concerns with Clearwater Point. Just want to make it very, very clear. I'm sure you all understand already, but we are literally taking away density from Clearwater Point that has not been developed, that could be developed on Clearwater Point, and moving it to the tourist district out of Clearwater Point where it already exists. So from my perspective, this is clearly a benefit to Clearwater Point residents because you're getting only 1 unit available, which is going to be this Mannion brothers home. Whether they tear the home down and build a new home, that's fine, but it's never going to be anything more dense or more intense than a single family home. This is also not the first time that you've done this or approved this. Going to the overhead in November of 2024, this is a development order. We transferred two hotel rooms from the Clearwater Yacht Club, which is obviously on Clearwater Point as well, and we transferred 43 hotel rooms from Brightwater Drive. And so 45 units were transferred at that time from Brightwater and Clearwater Point to this property. So this will just be in addition to that. Permits haven't been pulled for that yet because this development order doesn't expire until November of 2025. So we're waiting to do this all at once. So hopefully this will get approved. We'll pull the permits for the 40 or the 50 rooms as opposed to the 45 rooms. At that same CDB hearing, you approved 25 units from the Clearwater Yacht Club to be transferred off of Clearwater Point to the Hyatt. That was Attorney Cole's application. And about 4 or 5 years prior to that, you'd approved transfer of another 10 units, I can't remember from where, but to the Hyatt. So it's not uncommon for existing hotels, because we're pretty built out, to be using these density rights. Why? And I'll go back to the PowerPoint real quick. Why is that a good thing for Clearwater? Because we want hotel rooms to be developed so that we can encourage tourism development dollars. This is what funds beach renourishment. These units are basically sitting there not developed. If they're developed and added to existing hotels with ample parking that are already operating, you increase your tax base and you increase your revenue to your city and to the county to help with projects like beach renourishment. 60% of it goes to marketing out of state for Clearwater, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, and additionally capital projects. 40% goes to capital projects, such as the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, for example. So it is a benefit for the city to develop these. It is really no negative impact whatsoever. I couldn't even possibly imagine what a negative impact would be described for this. This is just a rough example of what the building permit applications are going to look like for the additional walls and separations of the units. We have no problem with the staff recommendation for the 3 additional conditions of approval. I did want to just point out, Clearwater promotes transfer of development rights within activity centers. So that means Clearwater Beach, Beach by Design, US 19, and downtown. The code says development rights of a parcel of land may be transferred to any parcel of land at any time to the same extent and the same manner as any other interest in real property, provided that these code sections are met. So the city council, in adopting the transferred for density rights, viewed them as a property right and wanted them to be transferable. They wanted people to be able to sell their density and put it in areas that the city wants to incentivize to be developed. Just real quick, these are the standards that we apply. We meet all of these. Ms. Dole outlined it brilliantly in her staff report. All of these conditions have been met. I don't think you're going to hear any evidence that any of them have not been met. I don't want to go into too much detail on these, but all of these conditions, as set forth in the code and as outlined in the staff report, have been met by the applicant and by the application. And finally, I just wanted to get into parking because I know parking is always of interest. So this site has 585 parking spaces, which is well in excess of what would be required even if you add these additional spaces. So we have 1.2 units per acre for hotel room. At 389 units, which is the current entitlement, that requires 467 spaces. You add the 5 units, that adds 6 spaces. So the total new requirement would be 473, and we exceed that by more than over 100 parking spaces. And the hotel use is valet only. So that also helps with ADA accessibility and getting people in and out and making sure we don't have traffic congestion and circulation problems. So that really is the end of my presentation. I think by any objective measure, this is a benefit to the city and a benefit to Clearwater Point. If we hear concerns about the chart house, that's not before you today. No one is suggesting transferring density to the chart house. That's not what's happening. These units are going to be developed on this site. And we have a few more months to pull the building permits for the first 45 units that were approved back in November of 2024. So if and when somebody ever wanted to do anything at the chart house, it would have to come back as a level 2. It would be its own standalone application. You're not creating a precedent for the chart house or anything of that effect. Just trying to anticipate what might be said. But anyway, again, objectively, I think we have provided competent substantial evidence through the staff report, the application, and the testimony today for you to please approve this very minor transfer of these units.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
What are they doing, taking suites and just splitting them?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're taking the large units. I mean, you might remember the Hyatt had like 10 condos, like the huge ones, and they turned all those into hotels. So it would be a similar thing here, where larger suite units would be turned into 2 smaller units.
I have no problem with it. I think it's a good thing, especially bringing extra revenue in. I do have a question. When you use the word valet, I've been at both those properties many, many times, and I've never seen real valet. I know there's spots for valet, but I've never seen it used. Not that it makes any difference. There's plenty of parking.
Yeah, and I think that may be because the public parking isn't valet. It's just like the hotel guests are supposed to valet. So I can't give you the direct answer on that, but I think that's probably what it is. The public parking is self-directed, and the valet is the valet. So
excess parking, but thank you.
Yes, sir.
By
Yes, sir.
what you alluded to before, so these could be transferred again if they wanted?
No, so the code requires a FLD application with any TDR. So there are people that have tried to transfer their density all over the beach. None of those have been effective. You have to have CDB approval to transfer density, and the city has to recognize it. There has to be a deed that's recorded that's approved by the city attorney's office. So if you approve this today, these will be vested and entitled on this site and this site only. If we wanted to transfer them off this site, we'd have to come back to you with a whole new application to explain where they were going. So this does not give the owner the right to develop them wherever they want. They have to be developed on this site unless and until there's a new application, which would come right back to you, and we'd have to explain it.
I have a question. What other uses are allowed for that single-family home?
That's a great question. I don't think really any. I've looked at that. They've asked me to look at that, and you can't do special events there, you can't do weddings there, you can't have a restaurant there. I mean, it's just not a big space.
It's not allowed by code, or you're,
I mean, if you wanted to change that into anything else, the only thing I could possibly imagine is if you did some kind of comp infill, because it's just not a large lot.
could I
And
make
the
it a
parking-
social club?
It would be incredibly difficult. I couldn't imagine how you park it.
Look at Bayshore, what they did over there.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. Parking would be very, very difficult for that site, for anything commercial. I could not possibly see it being anything other than a single-family home. If it's,
The city has always granted off-site parking because of the garages, et cetera, so why would parking be an issue?
there's no public parking garages near there. It's at the very end of Clearwater Point. So, I mean, it would be tough. It would be tough. It would have to come back to you for a change of use. So anything on that site that is not a single-family home would have to come back to you for a change of use.
Are you offering a deed restriction relative to that as a part of this?
I don't think so, because this property is under contract with another purchaser, and they are aware of this application and aware they're not gonna have any other density, but I don't represent that person, so I don't wanna make any representations for people I don't represent that are under contract to buy that house.
Can it be VRBO'd at this time?
I'd have to ask the city that. The city entered into a settlement agreement back in like 2001 with people that had been previously doing short-term rentals when they enacted their short-term rental. I don't know if this property was subject to that. My guess is not, because it's used by the family. Because it had to be continuously used as short-term rentals, you had to pay sales tax. My guess is it's probably not part of that, but I have no idea.
So what hotel density is allowed since it has one unit as a condo? Is there 2 hotels that could be allowed in the future on this?
You're only going to have one residential unit, so now you're at 5/3, so you can't even get an additional hotel unit.
It would be restricted to one?
I'd just like to clarify, the zoning district for the sending site is high-density residential. It's a residential zoning district, so that
It's not
limits
towards-
the vast majority of things other than potentially residential equivalent uses. But again, with one dwelling unit, the residential equivalent would be 3 beds per unit, and it's very unlikely to have a 3-bed assisted living facility, as an example.
But with your new allowance for residential, you could add another unit to it as an accessory unit?
An ADU.
It would qualify for an accessory dwelling unit. Short-term rentals would not be allowed. The rental term is, the 1 month, 30 days. So.
Okay.
You can't do short-term in HDR.
I mean,
can't.
the list of level 2 in HDR includes attached dwelling. You can't have more than, there's only 1 unit left. Congregate care, so you can have 3 rooms. You'd have 1 hotel room, doesn't work. Parking garage and parking lot, which then we're going to net out how much density is left to figure out. And then the lot size is going to be restricted to that. And then residential infill. So really, house or house.
But they could VRBO it, correct? There's no restriction?
No. For a longer period of time, it would have to be a minimum of 1 month for the rental terms. But that's a platform officially, so they could use a platform to do a longer term rental for the property. It doesn't have to be owner occupied.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, if they were to add an accessory dwelling unit, that same provision, it would need to, one or the other would need to be owner occupied in that instance, but it would still be required to be rented at a longer
So
period of time.
they would be allowed an additional accessory unit?
Yes, if they can fit it, they could do that. That's all part of the accessory dwelling unit standards that we modified last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, now you would take cross-examination if either city or the applicant wishes to cross-examine anyone.
Would
Or
anyone
testify.
with planning and development staff would like to cross-examine the applicant?
We're good.
The applicant, would you like to cross-examine the staff? Thank you. So we'll take comments from the public at this time.
Again, Chris Michael, Clearwater Point, and I've come before you, all of you except for the exception of Ms. Chenault. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm smiling here because a lot of the things I was going to say have already been covered. First of all, Mr. Ongst Jr. Shared your November 2024 vote where you granted a total of 45 units to the same property, Holiday Inn Edge. I call it the Holiday Inn combo. And I came before you at that time to do exactly what Mr. Ong said, to ask you not to vote for that because I felt it would set a precedent. It's interesting that Mr. Ong's brought up the fact that we're not talking about a precedent. Why do we even care about this project? We care about this project because across from us, on the other side, we have being constructed right now the Chart House Hotel, which was zoned tourist. So they were allowed to build that hotel after 6 years of fighting with the city in conjunction with planning and development. The hotel is being built now, but it was zoned tourist. We are concerned about what's going to happen to that one unit. We've been watching that too, but that's another issue. The reason I came before you in November 24 was we vision, those of us who live at Clearwater Point, 465 families, that right now the Chart House is only 60 rooms. And as Ms. Dole said, I was glad to see they put into this new proposal that they cannot have lockout rooms because the original proposal had lockout rooms. Those lockout rooms had now been closed. But we still believe, we are watching the construction, that because even though it is 60 rooms now, no lockout rooms, some of the suites in the current design are 1,500 square feet, larger than the condo I live in, 1,500 square feet. So we anticipate, Mr. Ongst, that in the future, Mr. Kylieber, the owner of the Chart House, who also owns the Edge and the Holiday Inn, will come and ask somehow for units to be transferred, as they are in this proposal, to the Chart House so that we can have more density. We are concerned about that. I'm just going online now. I'm going here, reporting to you that we are scrutinizing what's happening with the Chart House daily. And if something comes before the Clearwater Development Board, before the Community Development Board, we will come to you again and say to you, you already approved for the Holiday Inn and Edge, the units for Mr. Kylieber twice, and now you are asking for the Chart House. We will not allow that to happen. So I'm going on record to say, please vote no. I know you will not vote no, but I'm asking you to consider it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Closing remarks by the Planning and Development staff, 3 minutes.
We'll just do a final summary to put in the record. So staff recommends approval based on the conditions as listed in the staff report plus the 3 conditions that Ms. Dole read, plus the recommendations based on the findings of fact, which includes this H you see in your staff report, includes the consistency with beach by design and the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing remarks by applicant, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, this application is about moving 5 hotel rooms off of Clearwater Point and putting them into existing hotels in the tourist district. It is not about the Chart House. So if and when that ever becomes an issue, it will come back to you, duly noticed. But at this point, there's absolutely 0 plans for that. The Chart House is under a development agreement that doesn't expire until 2028 or 2029. I can't remember exactly the date. And it also has deed restrictions. So my point is, you have not heard any competent substantial evidence in contrary to the staff opinion that all of the approval criteria have been met. And so we'd respectfully ask you to approve the application. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have closing of the public hearing and discussion and vote by the board. Any discussions?
It's in y'all's hands now.
I only have one comment, and I think this application is fine just as it is, but I'd like to ask, what is the fear? I lived at the Chart House back in '98 for 3 years on a sailboat and in the property, so I know it well. What is the concern, are we allowed to ask, with the density increasing at the Chart House? Those rooms are extremely large. If they did come back to us in 5 years or 3 years or whenever and made that request, what is the concern with that?
I would assume parking.
Oh, okay. Are you allowed to ask her? Or what is the concern?
You're at the part of the hearing where you would be discussing this application amongst yourselves, and also this application only.
Yeah.
Certainly, if Ms. Michael wishes to answer questions, she's free to do so. I won't stop her, but that's entirely up to her.
Okay, but it is separate from this application.
It is, yeah. At this juncture, I'd really suggest that you confine your discussion to the merits of this application and
Okay.
it's your action
Sorry.
on it.
I withdraw my request, and thank you.
I would move to approve case FLD 2024-08018A, TDR 2025-03001, based on the evidence and testimony presented in the application, the staff report, and at today's hearing, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law stated in the staff report with conditions of approval as listed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in dissent? See none?
Motion passes 6-0. All right. And all that's left are your director's items.
Do we start on one side or the other?
I'm sorry?
Do we start on one side?
Well, I would have your chair open the discussion.
So our first item is discuss addition of prayer to the meeting, and I would like to suggest that we move this to the next hearing so that our chair can be here to participate in that.
I also, I'm in agreement to that, but I'm also, I think, one of the things we're waiting on is the city attorney to put a voice in the matter.
Okay.
No? That was in the notes and the minutes. But I'm okay with moving it till Michael's here. I had an email this morning, or I shouldn't say an email, text message from a citizen, and they brought up what I brought up last time about Greece, the city of Greece in New York, and since the Supreme Court said it was okay for that, and I just thought it was funny. I said, yeah, we've already brought that up, and I don't fear any lawsuits more than what I fear. More than anything is I fear God. He asks us to honor him, so that's why I brought this up to begin with. But that's enough said by me, and I'm okay with moving it till the next meeting until Michael's here.
Why don't you take a motion to that effect and I'll have a vote, so it's formalizing what you're
Do we
doing.
have a motion to move the discussion of addition of prayer to meeting?
I'll move to approve a motion to extend the discussion of prayer to next month's meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none? Okay, thank you.
I'm not familiar with 5.2, so I don't know how to
I
present
think your director is here to explain.
Perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Good afternoon, Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development. So Florida statutes requires that cities that receive funds from the State Housing Initiatives Partnership, which is also just colloquially called SHIP, annually establish an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, another acronym for you, AHAC, and prepare a local housing incentive strategy. I won't add that one. The statute spells out the requirements for who needs to comprise the AHAC, and that City Council will appoint them. The Community Development Board is the city's local planning agency, and as such, a delegate from this board is one of the members of the AHAC. So each year, the board's asked to nominate someone to represent them, and City Council would affirm that by passing a resolution. It's actually on Council's agenda this week, so luckily we had a meeting this week so we can go through that conversation publicly. No decisions were made prior to, that was a carryover from last year. So for those who are newer to this or don't necessarily know, the duties of the committee include reviewing policies and procedures, ordinances, land development regulations, and the city's comprehensive plan. And the committee is tasked with recommending specific actions or initiatives to encourage affordable housing and facilitate it while protecting the ability of the property to appreciate value. The local housing incentive strategy must be completed and approved by City Council by the end of this year. So this will take place over the course of 4 meetings. The Housing Department staff is finalizing the dates with the consultant that leads this from Wade Trim, but those dates are anticipated to be or tentatively held as September 9th, October 14th, October 28th, and November 18th. These meetings start at 9 a.m. and are held here in council chambers. They generally take about 1 hour, but the second meeting, which would be the October 14th meeting, I've been told could take 2 to 3 hours. That one's a dense topic of the day. So I've observed the AHAC meetings in the past and provided staff support. They run pretty smoothly. It's always good, interesting conversation. Mr. Bootskis has sat as the board's representative in the past, but he said if no one else steps up, he would try to accommodate. But of course, if anyone else would like to take part in that, his feelings won't be hurt. He's not here anyway. That was my addition, not his. So I will let y'all discuss and we'll take your lead.
I spoke with Michael yesterday about this, and he said he was going to be traveling this fall quite a bit, so he wasn't going to be able to do it. And so I thought, well, he and I could do it together, but he didn't like that idea. So so I'm more than happy to do this. It's right up my alley. I am a general contractor, and I do this anyway. So I do this it's what I do all day. So It's not a problem. Unless somebody else wants to do it.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this or recommend Michelle?
I make a motion, Michelle represent the board on for that seat.
Thank you,
Affordable
Michelle.
housing, yeah. That's great.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for stepping up.
Yes. And if Michael's watching this, no problem.
That was the only item that we had. Thank you.
So item 6,
Item 6 is your gavel, my friend.
7.
Oh, I'm sorry, is there one more?
7 is adjourned, 6 was anyone else, the board gets to.
anybody else on the board would like to be heard?
I think we should skip that altogether.
We shall adjourn.
There we go.
Nice work.